Welcome to Bedroom Talk. No, we're not going to talk like that. um, tonight, it is nighttime. It's time for bed. But we've been having this discussion on the wall because that was, I think we just talked about that the other night. And so, why do we need to build the wall across the Mexican border?
So the question was, why do we need a wall at all, right?
Yeah, why a wall?
And so on our evening talks, often we talk about, some of the things of the day. And I read an article today from a newspaper in San Diego. I don't know how old the article was. And it was interesting because they interviewed people on both sides of the border that had lived there for a long time, right near the border. And it was kind of neat because both of them were reminiscing about the good old days. Somebody on the north side says, after a long day's work, we would, we'd get on our horses and we would ride across the border, and we would go to a bar or cantina or whatever and have some beers and come back, and it was, a nice thing. Somebody on the south side was talking about, seeing young kids and coming across the border and just screwing around doing what young kids do. And we said, the Border Patrol people were a lot nicer than they would buy us ice cream and maybe give us a couple of bucks and send us back across the border. So, but the article went on. The same people were talking about some of the things that's happened over the last few decades, where they started to have a lot of drug trafficking. You had, of course, coyotes bringing people across the border. A guy was talking about, I'd have these, unauthorized immigrants running through my backyard, and then the Border Patrol would come chasing them through. And this is almost a daily event. And but they also, the ones on the south side of the border were talking about the whole drug trafficking thing. And they had people kind of staging areas just on the other side of the border. And they had all kinds of related crime and things to dealing with all drug trade and such. So they were saying it was really bad. And then they both talked about, because I guess that area they've now built the wall through that area, and they were saying, "Gee, I don't have people running through my backyard anymore." Yeah. And the one on the south side, which wasn't something I had really thought about, was talking about how a lot of the crime stuff just went away. They moved further down or wherever they went, but they're not in his neighborhood, and it's it's cleaned up a lot. They missed the good old days, but it was an interesting article. So, but so the question of why do we need a wall, and part of it's just that a lot of the illegal activity stops or gets under control. Mexico's had a horrible problem, especially a while back, with all the drug trafficking, the drug cartel, shootouts with the police and such. We would, take people down to Mexico and go, I don't want to go down there. So it really hurt the tourist down there was really hurting because nobody wanted to go there. So there's those things, and that victimizes people. And it hurts people on both sides of the border. Yeah. Even things like sex trafficking and such, big problem. The wall's not going to fix it, but
yeah, they'll figure something else out.
Yeah, well, they're doing other ways to reach people, but it's going to help. And people react to Trump because he always talks about all the crime that's related to the illegal aliens here, and it makes it
Right.
sound like everybody that sneaks across the border is some kind of rapist and murderer or drug trafficker,
Right.
all those kinds of things, which
Yeah.
obviously is not the truth, and it
Right.
represents a small
Small
portion of them.
portion of them. But yeah, because a great majority of them, I think, really are trying to fulfill the American dream. That they want to come
Right.
here and have a better life. And but you just can't come here illegally.
Well, it's not just that. You're not set up to experience the American dream if you come across them that way.
Right.
You kind of have to live under the radar. I've heard people here talk about, even, my parents are here illegal and they never came to any of my school events and they wouldn't do things and they were, they're always afraid they were going to be deported. And it's not a good way to live.
No.
You probably don't,
Yeah,
you don't have
live in fear.
you don't have the job opportunities that you should because, of all the verification for employment and such that we have now. So you're not living the American dream. You're living something better than you had, but it's far from the person that comes across properly through the proper channels. And the proper channels allow us to screen everybody that comes at the border. You've been through that border crossing.
No, yeah.
Now I don't know what documentation they bring from Mexico, but when we come across, right, we've got a passport with a magnetic stripe. They've got fingerprints. They've got all this stuff, and they know who's here and who's not. I suspect the bomber that they just caught, they found fingerprints on the bombs, and they had to have copies of his fingerprints somewhere. And I suspect it was on his passport.
Yeah.
So
that made it easy.
So it made it easy,
Make a match.
even though he was a U.S. citizen, but still,
Yeah.
those kinds of
But he traveled to
identifiers.
Pakistan and
Right.
Afghanistan.
So we're out of time.
Yeah, we are.
I think we need to come
We're
back to it
over.
another time. So I hope that points out at least some reasons for the
Why
wall.
we should have a wall.
And I think good fence makes good neighbors. It benefits both sides. So,
Guess so.
all right.
All right.
We'll talk to you next time.